Hey everybody, Larry, Fort Worth Memories Museum and Group, and Hometown Heroes, and Mary and Rick. Y'all have a new guest today,
We certainly do, Larry, and this is episode 20.
episode
Oh
20.
my goodness.
Woo!
Woo!
We're starting to get old now.
I'm telling you.
I didn't want to bring that up.
Yeah.
You're starting to get old, but you said it, not me.
And our guest today is certainly a lady without words because you just jumped in our conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
Not really.
This is a remarkable woman. I've known Donna several years, and it's just anytime she walks in the room, the whole everything changes. You know, she's just the life of the party.
Oh, my.
Well, I think so because it's always fun being with you. But this is Donna Snow King, and she's not only, she is a mover and a shaker, but she's really a mover because she's a house mover.
Correct.
She's a third generation house mover, and HD was your father.
Correct.
And he just passed away this year.
He did in June. We lost Daddy.
And your grandfather actually started the company, didn't he?
He did. C.A. Snow started the company actually over in Weatherford in 1942.
Okay.
And then they progressed this away. Daddy came into the business well, he was working with his dad summers, weekends while he was in school. And then once he got out of school, he went into full-time with his dad and then took the business over. And then as each of us kids graduated high school, then we came into the business with him. I was trying to figure out, when you reach that certain age in high school, everybody starts, well, where do you want to go to school? What career do you want? We need to start planning your classes, right? Well, my dad was called out to one of the local colleges because their engineers had said that the structures that my dad was moving, it's impossible to move them. And, So we go out there, and they had him come and speak several times. And that's when I made the decision, why do I want to pay good money to come out here to get hollered at when I can get hollered at for free
At home.
at home? So I did not choose to go to college, maybe the School of Hard Knocks with my dad. But I tell you what, I believe he blessed all three of us kids and anybody that he ever met with a lot of good morals and standards, putting God first, country, family. So, and then each of us kids come into it. So I'm a third generation house and structural and historical building mover. I guess it's a weird occupation,
It's
but
a different one.
it's a very different one. But
Not a lot of people doing that.
no, but I've never been accused of being normal. So I fit right into that world. Yes, sir.
And that kind of took you into the Texas Flip and Move show. How did that happen?
Yes, sir. That was a freak phone call. I get a telephone. Debbie, that I work with there, we're all friends. She said, Donna, you may want to take this telephone call. Said it's somebody that says they're a producer and they want to talk to you about making a TV show. And I thought it was Randy Martin who played the lone wolf. That was his character, if you will. I thought it was him pranking me because Randy Martin used to do that all the time. So I'm just like, hee-ho. I'm like, by Lord Eller, yes, we want to do this. Y'all come on down. We'll film something, for an hour and a half. And I get off the phone, and I'm trying to keep from busting up laughing. And I'm going to go out into the front office and tell Tony and Debbie what had just happened. And I get out there, and I am knee-slapping laughing. And guess who's sitting in the front room with them?
Oh, no.
It's Randy, and I'm like, like it was going to do any good. I looked at them, I turned around, and I looked in my office like, who was I just talking to?
Yeah.
And that's how I met, I call him GQ, Greg Quell. And he's from Australia. And that began a many-year, in fact, 13 seasons. And Texas Flip and Move was, and I've not checked lately, but was also number one on AFN, Armed Forces Network. We broke all records on DIY, starting with the pilot program. And I think it was because we were something that people could actually afford and things that they could do on their own. because that's the way that all three of us kids grew up. We couldn't afford to tell somebody, go do that, mail us the bill. No, we had to learn to do it ourselves.
Because in the home moving business, a lot of times you don't just move the home, but you kind of help them put it back together. 'Cause
Yes,
it
sir.
kind of
Yes, sir.
shakes and
That's
rattles.
true. That's true. Now, we did not do the tremendous home makeover
Right.
like we did for the TV show. We just did that for the TV show. But so many of the things that Daddy had taught us through the years had come into play. I mean, I used to carry around in my purse a recipe to mix mortar. And I had that thing memorized. I mean, we laid the stone on a couple of houses that we had. We did about the only thing Daddy wouldn't do is electricity. And of course, this is going to date me. He would say, Donna, here's the best way to deal with electricity, and he handed me a quarter. And I'm like, what's that for? He said, you need to go call an electrician. He said, don't you ever touch that stuff. So plumbing, flooring. I mean, my own home come out of, north above Denton, a little town called Sanger.
Uh-huh.
And they went out there and the Corps built a lake.
Yeah.
My home that I moved in, that I currently live in now, I moved out of there in 3 pieces to get it here. And it was a brick home, which is brick veneer, and it was on a slab. So I picked the house up in 3 pieces. I moved it down here in 3 pieces, no floor in it, and we built our own subfloor under it because that's what we do. And I guess I thought everybody did stuff like that. So my home, we floored it. I blew out 2 walls. I had to wait for Daddy to leave town because it was a load-bearing wall, and I knew it, and I had to wait for him to go on a hunting trip. Then I snuck down at the office and got me 2 little, what we call grease racks, little I-beams, because I needed to span, like to make a header, so I could take a wall out. And so I did that on 2 things. But to me, that was normal everyday life. So when the show came around, I was excited because 1, we're saving landfills. 2, I'm getting to share with other people things my daddy taught me. And then 3, even at that stage, I was empowering, or I thought I was empowering young women, ladies, you can do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can do it. And many a times I said, and I don't care who you are or where you live. If you need help, call me at the office. And you wouldn't believe, not 2 or 3, I'm talking hundreds of calls I would get. So many of them loved the ideas, but they were a little bit scared, and they just needed encouragement. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what that was really heavy on my heart, was the encouragement of specifically women and young ladies to follow their dreams. And they can do this. Just try. Just try. So, in a nutshell, yes. I took a rabbit's trail to get to yes, didn't I?
That's good. We know more about you. So was that pretty exciting whenever you got that call and you realized that it was a real deal, and then you started doing the show? I bet it was different than anything you've ever done.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely it was. That very first day, GQ looked at me and he says, I hope you're ready. And I said, well, yeah, I got my work belt, I got my gloves, I'm good to go. I'm just going to move this house and fix it up. What's the big deal? And he said, no. I hope you're ready for your life to change. I said, ain't nothing going to change. I'm still Donna. I still put my blue jeans on 1 leg at a time, wear my work boots, got my work gloves. I go move houses and I fix them up. He said, no. He said, you have no clue what's coming. And he was right. I didn't really fully get everything he was talking about, but then as each season progressed more and more and more, and then I started thinking about, and it was scripture that's talking about, and I'm probably not going to say it correctly, but to him that God gives a lot, much is expected. You know what I'm saying? There's that scripture. And I started thinking, for many years, I wanted to be able to have a platform to reach women and younger women, to encourage them. And I don't want to leave the guys out. I don't mean to do that. But I guess my heart was with a lot of women that I see that are Maybe in situations there's no reason for them to be there.
Yeah.
And if they had skills and talents, then they could make better decisions for themselves. So, yeah, it definitely changed all of our lives. Mama, I got to tell you funny. I can tell you this because Daddy's in heaven right now. Right when things got kicked off and going, Mom and Daddy went down to, we got a little lake house. Mom and Daddy went down there, so they decided to go in town to get them something to eat. I get a telephone call. It's Daddy, and you know, you always answer whenever Mom or Daddy calls you. I don't care what happens, you stop, you pick that phone up. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, Donna, said, there's some people here that wants to take a picture and an autograph. How much am I supposed to charge? I'm like, oh, Lord Eller, Daddy, you ain't supposed to charge nothing. And he says, well, he's a preacher man. I'm like, oh, that's even worse, Daddy. But he was just kidding. But and it went out. My brother, my nieces, especially my dad, my sister, and myself.
Yeah, because y'all were all on different episodes of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
But
sir.
you and Tony were in every.
We were a constant.
Yeah,
We
you
were
were
a constant. Uh-huh.
And then with that, you came a lot of friends from the other members of the cast.
Oh, yes. Randy Martin, who we lost in, I believe it was July or August. Dear friend, his whole family. Now, they were competitors, but we were friendly competitors. He lost his battle with cancer, and we had known his family since 1985. And that's just, you know, you go past friends, and you're just like, what, extended family? Is that the right word?
I think
Yeah.
so.
It's like extended family. And I don't know if anybody remembers the pilot that was done. And the one thing that I do want to say is everything that happened on that show, it really happened. And everything that come out of my mouth, it really came out of my mouth. You know, it was a joke on the show as Tony and I wasn't allowed to say anything or do anything until they had us mic'd and a camera on us because they didn't know what was going to come out of our mouth next. But anyway, on the show, on the pilot, Randy pulled his building out onto the road, and you heard snap, snap. That really happened. Both his dollies snapped because he had too much weight.
Mm.
And so we dropped and ran. Daddy and Gary dropped and ran, went back to the office, got some of our equipment, took out there, put him in place, got him out of there. And we hate that it happened, but woo, it shot those ratings up. It made for good TV.
Yeah.
But no, Randy, he'll be greatly missed. And so they did shut the house moving doors, obviously. They shut the house moving doors. But he was a good guy, and he would help you. If you called in the middle of the night, he'd be there with whatever you needed. Good man.
And most of the episodes were shot around here. Or-
Yes, sir. Literally everything was done in the Fort Worth area. There was some houses that we went further out. I think we one time went to east of Dallas and got a house, one down to Copper's Cove and got a house.
That's a long way.
Yes, sir, it is. It is. But we did a lot of houses. We did lots of houses on that show.
I think I saw most of those episodes.
Did you?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I know one time I was talking to you. I think it was at the barbecue place, and you mentioned AFN, and when I was deployed, because I deployed 3 times between 16 and 19, and on AFN that was the one thing that you could get, and so you'd make sure that you rushed back to get where you could get to a TV because at least you could see something from home, and it was from Texas.
Oh my gosh, girl, you just sent chills up my spine. I got to tell you this. True story, just sure as you're a foot tall. This is a true story. We were setting up for the watch party, and a lady came up to me and she said, I want to thank you for the TV show. And I said, oh, well, that's so sweet. We appreciate you watching. She said, well, it's not that just I watch, but my son and his brothers watch. I thought that was strange. Son and his brothers. Do you have daughters too? There was no connection yet to military. And she says, and I said, brothers? And she said, oh, he's in the military and he loves watching your show. And that was the first time I had heard of AFN. And I said, really? And she said, yes. Said he says they all rush back because for that time period, they're home.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they see and said, you and your sister are your favorite, I'm like, well, yeah, hello. No. I said, well, we appreciate that. But when they look at you, they see their sister, they see their girlfriend, they see their wife, they see their mother, their grandmother. And I'm like, well, you had me up until grandmother. And I said, well, is he here? And I'm looking around, and she said, no, he's stationed, and she named off something. And I'm thinking, where's that in the United States? She said, oh, no, he's in Afghanistan. I'm like, that was my first introduction that this show literally was everywhere. And we eventually are and still are in over 145 countries.
Because it's still showing in a lot of places.
It is. Over in France, they're just now up to season, I think, 7 or 8.
And you have a fan club in France?
I do. I have a fan club in France, a fan club in Ireland, believe it or not, a fan club in Russia. They're all over the place. And it's nothing that I did. It's these people that love Texas. Because I told them, you put the word Texas in there, people are interested. They want to know more about it.
Yeah. And so, as the show, whenever you found out that you aren't going to have the show anymore, what happened then? I mean,
COVID. COVID hit.
But the show got canceled
the show
before
did not
COVID.
get renewed because the station we were on, DIY, was sold. And the people that purchased it wanted nothing but their own programming on there, which was their prerogative to do, of course. And we wished them the best. And I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing now? Okay, I'll start concentrating more back on rodeo because I'm a high school rodeo team sponsor, and I'm also the Queen's Committee chair. And this was another way to reach out, in my opinion, to start down there with younger girls, whether they could drive a vehicle or not. We put them through rigorous training. We give them classes. We help educate them on a lot of different things about life, and then we get them out there in the public. And I have seen some of these kids come up through rodeo that did their best when they walked in a room to blend into the wall. And by about their second rodeo season, one of my favorite ones, Kirsten, she was the president of the foundation. And I mean, she just soon talk to you as look at you. And one of our other young girls, she could not smile. Like if you said, okay, everybody line up, now smile, she couldn't. And now she can smile at the drop of a hat. And you see these differences in these young ladies' lives. And you think, this is my watch. What am I going to do on my watch? Because one of these days, this is what I want to hear. Well done. Enter in. I don't want to hear, Donna, what in the world were you thinking? I don't want to hear those words. I want to hear good job, So I decided to concentrate my efforts there. And so I started working on it. And I've built up a networking into the Queen's world, if you will. Some of my girls, I say, come up through my ranks. They were Miss NTRF, which is the North Texas Rodeo Foundation, which I started that several years ago, a 501c3. And then there is the North Texas High School Rodeo Association, which they are celebrating their 50th rodeo season, this rodeo season.
Wow.
And I was an originating member. And
Were
if
you
I
really?
tell you when it was, now I've already given you the clue. You can subtract and go back.
So you were only about 4 or 5 years
Well,
old
there you
whenever you
have
started?
it. What you said. No, 72, 73 was the inaugurating year.
So you were already involved in rodeo back.
Well, I kind of grew up in it.
Okay.
My aunt was big into it. I followed in her footsteps some. My main thing was not barrel racing. My main thing was team roping. I like to rope. So I was in team roping. I was what's called the healer. I roped the feet, the back feet.
Yeah.
And roped a lot of USTRCs, OTRA, ACTRA, a lot of different
And so
organizations.
the women
around.
compete with the men,
Yes,
or they
they
just
do.
have?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
compete with the men.
Okay.
And I remember
Do a
roping.
good job of it.
I remember roping at the Wendy Ryan one year, and they have the all girls. and I think this was the second year that I roped there, and there was 99 teams. And and it was muddy as all get out. And I told my header, I said, look, we made a pact. If you miss, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You safety up, because you don't want to go down in that mud, not only hurt yourself, but you could hurt your horse. And then we wouldn't be able to rope until the horse healed, or God forbid, had to be put down. We come back, ninth high team back. Even in the mud, we was covered mud head to toe, but we didn't care. We was having fun. But that was the world I preferred, was the team roping world. And there's nothing wrong with the other events, but at high school, because I do serve on the board, I get to see so many kids. Their lives are literally transformed. I took a challenge coin, because when I went to my first Sky Ball, I learned about challenge coins. And it really prompted me, and I got to show you, it really prompted me. I took and made my own challenge coin for the North Texas Rodeo Foundation. And I've carried it so long it's rubbed the years off of it. But what I wanted to teach these kids was honesty, integrity, and commitment. All of my kids, I can say to them, if it's not the truth, they will answer, don't say it. I will say, if it's not right, they will say, don't do it. And I will say, if it doesn't belong to you, they will say, don't take it. And I said, and if you get caught doing it, what's going to happen? They said, you're going to whip our legs. I said, you got that right, I'll be whipping some legs. Well, one of our young men, who was a trouble, he decided he'll be a bull rider. That's the best way you take it out of any young man that thinks he's 10 foot tall and bulletproof. You put him on the back of a bull or a horse. And it changed his life. And his parents took him on a senior trip when he graduated. The family went on a senior cruise. And everywhere he went, he had his coin, and he wanted a picture with his coin.
Did he really?
And yes, and finally, several of the people on the cruise ship come up to him and said, what is that? Every time we see you, you're taking a picture with your coin. What is that? And he says, and he shows it to them, and he explains to them what it's about.
Watching from France.
And really?
You got somebody watching, says, hi, Donna.
Well,
I'm watching you from France.
Well, howdy from Texas. And they said, we like that. So how do we get one of them coins? And he says, I guess you have to join Miss Donna's rodeo team. I don't know. But just a simple coin.
Made a difference.
I taught them the history of this challenge coin. But anyway, so I started moving in that world more. And because I want to help make a difference. And then I really started honing in on the queens.
And so that's the North Texas High School Rodeo Association.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started the foundation.
North Texas Rodeo Foundation, that
Okay.
is correct. Uh-huh.
Okay. And what does the foundation do as opposed to the association?
The association, North Texas High School Rodeo Association, that is what it implies, North Texas. It is like a mothership, and you have all these different schools, whether it's a brick and mortar school, homeschooling, private schools. As an example, you have, up where I'm at, which is north of Fort Worth, you have Northwest ISD. So you have Northwest High School, you have Byron Nelson High School. So you have the Northwest Rodeo team, the Byron Nelson Rodeo team. So every school is a rodeo team. And they all come up, they rodeo up under North Texas High School Rodeo Association. Well, back in 2013, 2014, I started seeing up in our area, there was a lot of youth that was being homeschooled. And there was one, maybe two on the team. Well, they were missing the whole camaraderie of being on a team and having that team feeling, and somebody's got your six, and let's work together and figure this out. Let's go have a good time. And so I said, I'm going to create a foundation, and I did. And it's a 501c3, tax deductible receipts we can give. People are more apt to give to a 501c3. And so at one point I had 13 schools under my little umbrella that's over the big umbrella. So all these individual rodeo teams is still part of like 80 or 90 high schools. that
Oh,
rodeo up
goodness.
at what we call North Texas.
Okay. Yeah, because the rodeo, for those kids, I mean, that's just builds a lot of character, gives them a lot of responsibility, and, you know, brings the family in, because, you know, those kids can't drive that truck and pull that trailer when they're 13, 14 years old, so they've got a parent that's doing it, and I mean, it's a big,
the
it's
whole
a big
family
deal.
involved, yeah.
I was at Billy Bob's the other night backstage, and the door opens to the back of the Cowtown Coliseum, and you know they were having the roping, not the roping. I'm sorry, the barrel racing, and they said those girls been here since early this morning, and this is scheduled to go until 2 o'clock
Yes.
in the morning.
Yes.
You know, just hundreds of girls involved in that. So you've got a place where you can really make a big impact on a lot of kids, you know? I mean,
What I'm excited about is once they leave the ranks, if you will, where they're going and what they're doing. And I've had 2 girls go on to get 2 national titles.
Wow.
Really,
That's
really
exciting.
wonderful. Then one of my young men, he is now in his, I want to say, 4th year in the Army, and he's stationed overseas. One of my young ladies, who is a former queen, is suffering for the United States Navy in Italy.
Suffering.
Suffering for the
Yeah.
United States Navy. So she's a sailor, and it makes your heart swell with pride, is what it does, when you see them take what you have helped input into them, because it's not just us. But you know what? There are some young men and women that come from broken homes, and both parents have to work. They do their best, especially in the economy that we have now. But to just get to be that small part of helping them, that lights my fire, and it's like, get out of my way or I'm going to run you down.
because it instills so much in them. It gives them confidence. Like
It
you were
does.
talking about
It
those,
does.
the queen, you were talking a while ago about walking in the room, not smiling, and now she
Yes.
smiles. But it gives them confidence. But one thing I guess that is hard to overcome is, you know, in a lot of sports like that, there's winners and losers, but there's not really winners and losers, because everybody that's participating is there, so they're already a winner. You know, they're in the arena, they're doing the stuff, even if they aren't getting the belt buckles and the prizes. But you know, it gives them some things that build
Sure.
character. So
What I tell them is, you're not competing against everybody else in your event. You're competing against yourself. So if your time, let's say in walk-up goat time was like a 10 something, then next week you should be trying to get it in the 9s or lower. Because what these kids, every one of these young men and women, what they learn and take away from that rodeo arena takes them right into the arena of life.
it does.
Sure it does.
And it helps to equip them for the ups and the downs, the victories, the defeats, and how to deal with it, and not get out there and throw tantrums.
Because to keep an animal up, that's a lot of responsibility. It's not
Sure.
like a dog or a cat. You know, I
No,
mean, you got to feed that
true.
horse and take care of it, and
that's right.
there's a lot of little things people don't realize. You know, that just having it shoed and having the hoofs trimmed and things. You know, and
One way that I help teach them is I did have one youth. They didn't think it was necessary to put shoes on a competing horse.
Oh my.
And I'm like, okay. I said, take your boots off. Take your socks off. I said, now we're going to go right out there in the parking lot, because there's where gravel. I said, and we're going to run the barrel pattern out there. That's going to hurt my feet. I said, well, Lord Eller, what do you think it does to the horse? And then another one, I had a young lady that wouldn't, what we say, get out of the horse's mouth. She was balancing off the reins because she hadn't found her center of gravity in her seat. So I put the bit in her mouth. Guess what she learned? She learned that this is what I'm doing to my horse. A lot of it is practical stuff, but who's taking the time to help the youth? And again, I'm not saying the parents aren't. I'm just saying that in this area, in this arena, I get the privilege, and it's not just me. I'm one of several sponsors that work under the North Texas Rodeo Foundation, as well as a lot of board members on the North Texas High School Rodeo Association. And we take our job seriously, there to help these young men
And
and
do you,
women.
you sponsor some individual kids or students? I know that some of those, I've got a cousin that barrel races, and I think she's got some sponsors that help
A lot of the kids.
finance, you know,
That is
the
true.
Expensive.
feed and the gas, because it's
Yeah.
expensive.
It is like, you enter one event, it's $50. There's some kids up there that's in 4, 5, and 6 events. That can get expensive. And you were so right, hitting the nail on the head. You see little ones running around. And I saw a sign, and this been about a year or so ago, and I saw a sign somewhere, and I took it and I changed it around, and I had it made great big and put it on one of the bleachers where everybody has to walk by it. And what it says is something to the effect of, there is a young child that wants to be just like you someday,
Yeah.
and they are watching you now. Be the best you can be. And it's funny because you'll see the youth stop and you can tell it's going through their mind. And I think little things like that changes their attitude.
Of course.
And one thing that you're doing is kind of taking some of these, I keep calling them kids, but they're these young adults. You're taking them out of the arena
Yes.
where they're comfortable, and you're taking them to other places. Because 2 weeks ago, we had the Air Power Foundation had the Sky Ball, and that was in the evening. And then during the day, Donna had 6 of her queens, and these are young women who have competed to have that title. So
That's
it's not just like a beauty pageant or something
No.
where they go twirl a baton or they probably don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
you know,
I
Not
don't
that I
can't
know
tell
of.
you the last time I watched the
but I-
pageant.
but they are athletes.
Yes, they are.
So and they have to have good grades. They have to be good students.
Yes, they do.
They compete in the rodeos, and then they compete to be the queen. But she had 6 of them. We were kind of the headquarters was over in Arlington at a hotel, and during the day, Dusty and Tyler, they set up the cameras and lights, and they interviewed some pretty special people. We had
Yes.
several Medal of Honor recipients. We had several POWs, ex-POWs. You have a picture up of some of those. We have a picture of the Queens, and then we'll have a picture of them interviewing Lieutenant Colonel Crandall, Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam, and then Doc Ballard. And it was real interesting to be standing in the back watching all this because, you know, they did well. You know, we made a video and we ended up with about 17 different interviews. But
Wow.
that's part of what you're doing to help them kind of blossom and get out
Yes.
and gain some skills, gain some life experiences that's outside of the rodeo arena. So-
Absolutely. The arena of life.
And-
It's a transition.
and one thing about you go to rodeos and stuff, and you know they sing the Star Spangled Banner there. you know,
Amen.
and everybody takes their hat
That's
off.
right.
and
I think
That's right.
rodeo is more patriotic than anything.
It
these
sure
days.
seems
It is
like
so
it. It
wonderful.
sure seems like it. You know, and boxing's like that too.
Sure.
I mean, you know, those boxers, you know, regardless of, you know, they get up there and you don't see anybody kneeling there. But that was just a good experience. And then you took them to the Sky Ball that night,
Yes, we did.
and it was just a great patriotic evening. And I got a challenge going from one. It kind of surprised me because it was after the Sky Ball, and so I'd been working with these young ladies all day, so I wanted a picture with them. And so they got up there, and whenever they got me in the middle of the line there, and she shook my hand and gave me a challenge going. I
Yes,
said,
she
this
did.
is pretty cool. So
They are so proud. because this is like, what I'm doing now with them is almost like a pilot type situation. I'm working on, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get the name of it wrong. In December, they're going to work with Air Power Foundation and another Wanda Cox and then Cameron McNutt about passing out gifts for military
Yeah.
families.
Oh, holidays in here.
That's
Holidays
it.
and
That's
Heroes,
it.
yeah.
They're so excited about that. And each of those girls, if you was to talk to them afterwards about Skyball, every one of those girls came away from there with one of the people they interviewed that impacted them to the point they went home and looked them up. And I'm like, wow, that was worth it right there. Now we're planning a trip, and it'd be over spring break next March. I'm taking them to Nashville, and they're going to be on a couple of, at least 2, possibly 3 talk shows. Going to take them to the Grand Ole Opry, and it'll happen there again because I've done this before, just like it did at Skyball. They were so cute. I said, all right, what's the rule about going to the bathroom? And they said, no less than 2 at a time. I said, that's correct. It's an unwritten rule. But they all pretty much move, with each other
Right.
around. They couldn't go 5 feet and somebody wanted a picture. And that just tickled them. And I told them that morning, I said, when you get through with this evening tonight, I said, your cheeks are going to hurt from smiling
Right.
all evening. And they thought I was crazier than who'd done it. And later that night, they're like, you were right, Miss Dottie, you were right. But during Skyball, so many of them sat there and looked. And I got to tell you something really, really cute. When all of the evening events was through, and then I believe it was Emerald City. Emerald City, that was the band that played. Fabulous band. And I said, it's all right, y'all can go up there, stay together. And of course, we're all right up there, kind of watching here and watching there. I mean, we were surrounded by military, so I felt they were safe. That's not it. But you watch over when someone entrusts you with their child, right? And I get up there and this lady says, Doc Ballard wants to dance with the queens.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I said, well, sure, which one? She said, all of them.
All of
And
them.
I'm like,
That's him.
all right, let's go then.
Yeah. Doc was having
He's
a good time that
Oh
night.
my gosh, those girls had the best time, and everybody they got to meet and greet with made an impact on them. And that's what is so awesome, because what we are instilling in these young ladies, they will be paying it forward to
The next generation.
the next generation. And that's what a lot of this is about. Part of going to Nashville, and I did it about a year ago. We went out there, and it was post 17, I believe, the American Legion post 17. I believe it's Gallatin, Tennessee. We did entertaining there, and I want my queens to be a part of that. And door
did you
prizes,
do it? You did it with Jamie and
Jamie and Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Yeah. It's really, really Bagwell. And he just retired after
I
over
know.
40 years of service in the Air Force.
I couldn't believe that. He told me he'd been in 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a couple, and she sings, and he
Oh,
plays the
my word,
guitar,
yes,
and
yes,
just extremely
very
talented.
and love our military, obviously.
Yeah.
And so in working this out, they're going to be there and perform at post 17. Well, here's me saying post 17. I still got to get a hold of the people out there and set it up. So
Maybe they're watching the show, and
I hope
say,
so.
we better put that on our
I better
calendar,
put that on
because
there, yeah. I'm trying to figure out a way, because I've got a group of people around me that are wonderful, love God, love their country, entertainers. And we just want to go to bases and entertain. We want to go to places and entertain veterans. We don't want no money. We just want to use our talent, our time, our talent, and our treasure to bless. And I keep running into flipping brick walls.
how come?
Lord Eller, I don't know. You tell me and we'll
You
both know.
can't get into the.
Can't get into the door.
Well,
So
let's kind of work together, and
I would appreciate
because
that.
I do a lot of events, and they're always looking for some entertainment.
That'd be great. I appreciate that. Thank you kindly for that.
And that you talk about working with the veterans and everything. You're married to Lieutenant Commander Rex King, United States Navy retired, and he's done a lot, and y'all do a lot together for our military, our veterans,
Yes.
and with the Gold Star families. He was on the board, or he still is.
He is still
probably
honorary board member.
He was a founder.
He was a founding member on the
of
Woody Williams
yeah,
Foundation. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
And so Rex, he was in the Navy, and he was
Brownwater.
Brownwater Navy, which was the riverboats in Vietnam. And did they call him up, or did he go in as a contractor
He went
before
in at,
Iraq, or?
now I know that when he went into the Navy, he was a radio man. He has been a ham radio operator since he was 11 years old, and he had some insane skills. And then while in there, he was attached to the Marines and went through special training, and there's a whole lot of stuff obviously that he doesn't talk about, and that's fine. But I'm very, very proud of him and all of our men and women that served and is currently serving in the military. He was a riverboat, submarines, and I'm figuring out he's 6'5". How'd that work for him? And destroyers, and but he loves military.
And you're talking about your father passed away, but your mother passed away
In March.
in March, and then Rex lost his service animal, his
Ronan
dog.
in January.
Yeah. So I mean, and that I know that's
That's
a
hard.
lot of loss that y'all have
Yeah,
had
tough
since
year.
you got married.
Oh, Daddy, and not a lot of people knew this, and I knew it, but whenever whenever you're somewhere and they're like, if you served in the military, please stand up. My daddy would never stand up, and I wondered why. Daddy was in the Army National Guard for several years, and he was mobilized during the Cuban crisis, and he says he felt like since he didn't go overseas, that he didn't deserve the recognition. And that's what he told me, because I did ask him, and that wasn't actually too long before he passed away.
I've known several people that have felt similarly. When I
Really?
say, come to roll call, come have lunch with us, you're a veteran, and they'll say, no, maybe they served during, especially the ones that served during Vietnam, and maybe they were guard or reserve or whatever.
Didn't have to
and
go.
they didn't have to go into Vietnam. And so they don't feel worthy. And I always try to remind them, we don't always get that choice. We go where Uncle Sam tells us
you
to
to
go.
go.
And if Uncle Sam didn't tell you to go, that doesn't diminish the fact that you still raised your right hand
That's right.
and swore to uphold and defend the Constitution and potentially give your life. Just because you weren't called to have to go doesn't make you not a veteran. So it's not an unusual thing. I've actually heard that more often than I ever thought I would, because when you make that commitment to wear that uniform, you do it without regard to knowing where you're going to end up.
Exactly. I know that when Daddy passed away and we were making the arrangements, one of the things that the director of the funeral home says, any military service? And I said, well, yes, sir. He was in the Army National Guard. And I thought to take a copy of Daddy's DD 214, and I had never looked at it that much before. And I looked down there, and I thought, no wonder he could eyeball. He's a sharpshooter. I'm like, no wonder he could eyeball something within an inch. That made a lot of sense to me then. But God gifted him with that. And he said, oh, well, we can't do the flag presentation because it says National Guard. If it did not have NG beside his service. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, okay, that's the rules. We go by the rules. That's what Uncle Sam says, or somebody says that. So when we was at the funeral, at the closing of the funeral, he brought over a flag. And he presented it in my heart. And he gave it to me. I don't cry pretty. And he gave it to me as being the oldest. And I would fight a circle saw if somebody tried to take that flag away from me, you know, because it has that special place. Yeah.
He
Sorry,
was a
guys.
special guy. You know,
Yes, sir.
I mean, and he
Yes,
was
sir.
just as.
Do you know a Jeffrey Gray?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
He said he was on that show a few times, and the sisters are wonderful ladies.
Oh,
He-
your check's in the mail.
Yes.
Oh, that was very kind. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, but your dad, he was a special guy. You know, I just met him at your wedding.
You were the picture taker. I remember calling you up because I threw a wedding together in a matter of weeks, and I said,
But it wasn't a shotgun wedding.
no shotgun wedding. And I said, would you take pictures at our wedding? And you said, well, yeah, I would. He says, I've never done a wedding before. And I'm like, well, good. I've never married a military man before. So we're good. We're
There's a
golden.
tissue right there.
Oh, thank you.
And then we brought Dusty and Tyler, and they did the video. And
Nice.
man, that video got around the world pretty quick.
And I got an anniversary coming up. I married Rex on
Yeah, on his
December
birthday.
31st on his birthday. I figured he won't forget the anniversary.
That's right.
He said he was 7 years old before his mom and dad broke the news to him that all the fireworks every year was not celebrating his birthday.
That's kind of like Tyler. Tyler's born January 1st, and he always thought, you know, I'd take him out at midnight and say, look, these people are shooting these
Oh,
fireworks
my word.
for your birthday. I'm going to tell you a story about your dad because, you know, he had a new coat that he wore, and you know they were out. They were a little bit late coming to the wedding, and so they were out in the parking lot. And I was out there taking pictures. They were getting your mom out of the car, and they're trying to get your dad. You know, because he wasn't a tie guy.
Oh, no.
And so they were helping him get the tie on and they put this new coat on and everything. And so he walked you down the aisle, and y'all were up there on the platform taking your vows and everything. I was watching him, and because I was standing over taking pictures, and he looks down, and he still had on those stoop coats, they have a little fabric tag on them.
Uh-huh.
And he looked down and saw that, and then he reached down there and got his pocket
Pocket
knife.
knife out.
He was taking that tag off whenever. And I thought that was cute because that's just kind of guy he is, you know. I mean, just down to earth, and a real.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much
And-
so. He,
And he kind of passed that down to you a little bit because you're just a down to earth person. you
Yeah.
know? I
Well, I
mean,
met her
Thank you.
dad many years ago.
and he's still
And
remembering.
he'd just come by, and I'd always tell people, don't be a stranger. And he'd come by, and I was trying to place him, and he said, you told me don't be a stranger, house mover. And I said, oh yeah, let's talk. And he told me he said, well, I've kind of got a little, he saw my museum back in the 80s. And he said, well, I kind of got a museum. And he told me about it, and I said, well, I told him out in Saginaw there was a guy there as you came in, Carol Burrell, had the little gas station and sold cars there. And he knew him, your dad knew him. And he said, well, you just keep on going on out, and it's a ways out there. And I never did make it out there. And then I always wondered, did I make him mad or what? I did a couple of vehicles, and then I didn't see him again.
oh, Lord Eller, there ain't much telling.
Yeah. But he was always fun to talk to.
He was definitely a plethora of knowledge.
Oh, yeah. We'd talk for a while.
So you have a lot of exciting things coming up. I mean, you're a pretty busy person.
I am, and one thing that I'll share with everybody is at the end of August, my Quail, my executive producer, had came out, and we worked together for a day and a half filming with him and camera people, shooting a sizzle reel, and it is now being circulated to networks, and may possibly have another show coming up. Hope to hear something, maybe even this month, next month, maybe by the end of this year, and I'm very excited about it. So that all I'm allowed to really say is that we've got a new
It's
show
in the works.
developing. But we feel confident in it. And again, it's got Texas, it's got God and country in it, and I think people are wanting that. People want to go back to where we came from. I didn't say
Amen.
go back to the Stone Age. I said, what was it? On next Sunday, turn your clocks back, and then also turn the country back to when we had morals and standards and things like that. And I thought, oh, that kind of makes a lot of sense. That was kind of catchy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
So, one thing we need to do is to start trying to incorporate some of those young adults that you're working with into some more of the things like with the Air Power Foundation. Even at roll call, they could come, they could help deliver the meals to the tables, and be around those veterans, and kind of just do a little tag teaming on our organizations, because it just helps the young people, it helps the veterans too.
I agree with that. I'm hoping to have meetings with the powers to be at Air Power Foundation to work with them on some more things. I've actually got an idea to do a fundraiser for Air Power Foundation that I can't hardly wait to talk to them about it. And it would involve some of my friends in the entertainment industry coming here to the stockyards. I don't know, maybe use the ISIS Theater. It's been completely renovated.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous on the inside.
They had the premiere for season 5, I think, of Yellowstone there the other
okay.
night. So
Let's see, it's Jim and Debbie Smith are their names. Wonderful people. I got to meet them, and they're willing to, hey, let's see what we can work out here. So I want the girls and any of the other even the guys from the rodeo team. I don't want to exclude them. I want them to understand if you have better knowledge of where you came from and what you stand for, then you won't fall for anything.
Amen.
You will walk forward, and you will walk. It's just like I tell them when they get ready to go out there on a horse. They're getting ready for a competition or something. I'll tell them, sit up straight in that saddle, get your heels down, get your shoulders back, and your eyes forward. Because where you're looking is where that horse is going to go.
yeah.
And that's the truth. And it's the same thing that I tell them. If they're getting ready to go out to speak, go out and make an appearance somewhere, I tell them, shoulders back, chin up, eyes forward, and pretty feet. It's a certain way that we teach them to stand that it makes them look more graceful. So the big joke is pretty feet. Everybody has to have pretty feet. But we want to help. And the way that we help is by boots on the ground. People can do this all day long and can talk a really good game. But until I see that sweat rolling off your back, then I know you mean it.
That's
Sounds
right.
definitely like they need to come to a roll call lunch.
They
because
do.
nowhere
Yeah.
else will they be surrounded once a
right.
month at least by 400 to 500 amazing Americans.
Have you been there? Have you been to roll
No,
call?
sir.
Rex has.
Rex
Rex
has.
has.
Well, we gotta
and
get.
it's because of that I got to meet Sheriff Rayburn,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill's a good guy.
Tarrant
Great
County
guy.
Sheriff, and I got me a meeting with him, and I said, my rodeo queens are ready to make appearances, ride parades, work, whatever, with Tarrant County Sheriff's Office. And I think they looked at me like a calf at a new gate, like, are you sure about this? And I'm like, yes. How else are these young people going to learn about where they live, how they can be a part of this community, and in future years, leaders in this community,
That's right.
if they don't know about it?
That's right.
So, there, I'm off my soapbox for at least 30 seconds.
Well, our show's about over for today.
Oh my, have I talked that much?
You talked a lot, Donna.
I'm sorry. Not
Well,
sorry.
that's what you're here for.
No, but we just appreciate you and all the things you do, for our community and for our young people, and what you and Rex do for the military and the veterans, and it's just exciting to see what's going to happen with those young people, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen with your new pilot show.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
thank y'all. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And maybe some other time I'll come back and talk to you about my amateur radio,
We can do that.
because I got a bunch of my kids licensed. And if anybody wants to go look me up on the amateur radio, it's W5SML, which is W5 Sierra Mike Lima, but I prefer to call it Snow Much Love. That's what the world
No
needs.
much love.
Snow
And
much love.
you're going to have a cast party.
We'll be having a cast party probably in January.
Okay.
We usually take off when we get down into the year-end holidays. So many people have family functions and all going on, but it will be on Snow Sisters, Texas,
Okay.
and
That's a Facebook page.
it's a Facebook page, Snow
Okay.
Sisters, Texas. We'll have the cast party on there, and then also I've got new social media, Donna Snow King.
Okay.
So you'll be able to find the information
Okay.
there as well when we get it.
And
we get it all lined out.
I'd like to invite all your fans around the world
Yes.
to be a member of Hometown Heroes.
Oh
So
yes, definitely do
Definitely
that.
do that.
Definitely do
Yeah.
that
Yeah, 'cause
for
we-
sure.
we want to have them enjoy our show too, all around the world.
Absolutely.
Here's
Well,
some
thank
great
you.
stories.
And we want to have you at roll call soon. And we hope that, Rex is doing a lot better. He had a real messy accident with a horse,
Right.
and that he's recovering pretty fast.
He's recovering, but it was horse 1, Rex 0. But he's doing well. The surgeon said he's healing faster than somebody his age.
That's
so
good.
that was a good report. Like, we'll take that
That's good.
report. But thank y'all so much for having me on. It was a pleasure. I
It
think I
was our
did most of
pleasure.
the talking, and I'm sorry about that. But I appreciate what y'all do.
Well, thank you.
And it was an honor to be here. Thank you so very much for having me.
Well, we're glad you're here. Mary, we have roll call coming up Friday.
We do this Friday, and our speaker will be Jack Stowe, World War II vet, served in the Pacific, and he's going to tell us his story. So, of course, we are past the point of RSVPing, but if you're out there listening to the show, watching, and you desperately want to come, I always put a little pad in there for those last minute folks. So if there is interest and you really, really want to come join us and see what we do.
Call the number. Don't just show up. Right?
Yeah, don't just show up. Judy can get really, really mean when you just show up. But I did try to tell her, hey, I put enough buffer in there that if somebody does just show up, we could probably handle it. But give us a call at 817-507-5879 or email us at info@roll-call.org and we'll get you in there. And then next month, of course, because of Christmas, we move that luncheon up also. So that is the 9th of December. And we will likely start taking those RSVPs right after this Friday's luncheon. And we're going to use the automated system that we have set up, and we'll get that information out. But that is going to be a comedian who is an Air Force vet, retired Air Force, still teaches at the tech school in San Angelo. And he is also a comedian. So
Wow.
for December, we like to have entertainment, all
Oh,
year. We have
nice.
different
Sure.
speakers.
Nice.
So we're going to have a comedian for our December 9th luncheon. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Larry, the bicycle drive, how's it going?
It's still going. We
Okay.
still need bikes.
How many bikes do you have now?
I'm not sure. We've got 2 buildings full here.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
but we need lots more.
Okay.
I just touched base with Manny Ramirez, and he said Fort Worth PD is definitely in,
Our
and Fort Worth FD.
our new soon-to-be county commissioner,
County Commissioner
precinct
Manny
4,
Ramirez,
right?
right?
Yeah. So we'll buy some bikes and bring them down here to Larry.
Or you can, if you buy bikes, buy a bike, take it to Fred's, Texas, either location, and you get a free burger and fries.
That's a good deal.
I saw that and I said, hey, I think I may be just going to take mine there instead of here. So I can
Yeah.
get my burger
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Free lunch.
They've
Yeah,
got
hey.
great burgers at Fred's.
well, this has been a good show.
Great show.
Donna, we love you, and we're just
Aw,
so
thank you.
happy to have you here. And
Thank you for having me.
I'm
It was
looking
my
forward
pleasure.
to being at the next cast party.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
Very
you.
awesome.
20th show. You were
Oh,
our
that's
guest
20.
at the
Yeah,
20th.
yeah, the 20th show. And Dusty and Tyler, thank you all for all
Yeah,
the work you
thanks,
do in the
guys.
background
Thank
there.
y'all.
do a good job. I think I didn't have my monitor up here, but yeah, they do a good job. Mary, I'll see you Friday.
You betcha.
And we at Hometown Heroes, God bless America, and we'll see you next week.